Hello, this is Shirley reporting in from sunny Scarborough. And today's question is, how can we stop shoulding ourselves as much? Yes, the inner critic has risen again in the last fortnight. The voice, that voice inside our heads that says you really should go to the gym, or you mustn't eat any more chocolate, or you need to finish that report, or you ought to check in with whoever you ought to check in with. The favourite words of the inner critic are should, must, need to and ought to. And in my opinion, they're the most overused and unhelpful words in our language. And by the way, who is this voice that is telling me or you or I to do whatever it is we're doing? And if that voice isn't me, who is it? It turns out that the voice of the inner critic is an amalgamation of lots of different people's opinion in our lives about how a life should be lived, whether that's our parents, our teachers, leaders, influencers, people in our social circle. But for sure, it's not our voice. So what to do about this? Well, I first started learning about the inner critic about 10 years ago, and I really wish I'd learnt about it much earlier in my life, because it's a natural part of our psychology, this inner critic, and we all suffer from it to varying degrees. And one of the really simple strategies I learnt, which I found incredibly helpful, is when we catch ourselves shoulding ourselves, to replace the word should with the word could. So, you really should go for a run tomorrow becomes, I could go for a run tomorrow. And then follow it up with the magic question, what do you want to do? Because unless we are connected with something more meaningful, a bigger goal or a purpose in our lives, then the chances are we can should ourselves all day long and we won't act upon it. So if I were able to go back in time and mentor the younger me, and I really wish I could, I'd firstly invite myself to start noticing how often and in what context I'm shoulding myself. Perhaps engage some friends, family, colleagues to help us notice, and then practice replacing the word should or must with the word could, and following it up with that magic what do I want question. It's not a silver bullet. Working with our inner critic is, it's really a sort of lifelong journey, but for sure we can get much more comfortable with it, and we don't have to suffer so much from the sometimes brutal way in which our inner critic chastises us. So knowing what we want is really important, and of course that's another subject in of itself, which I'll save for another time. Until then, cheerio.